Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Better Product Solutions podcast. Today I'm bringing you Cameron Bell, design and application engineer from Delta ModTech. Delta is a long-term machine collaboration partner of Tapecon, so really happy to have Cameron on. We talk about the Delta-Tapecon collaboration, really our joint capabilities and how they support medical wearables and the commercialization of new medical wearables. We cover some validation services that Delta offers, and then we give a little bit of like a future, what's coming in the future of medical device and manufacturing trade show collaboration with Delta and Tapecon. So a little bit of a coming out party of those plans happening over the course of the next year. So without further ado, bringing you Cameron Bell from Delta. Thank you. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the next podcast episode here, and I'm excited to bring on Cameron Bell. I'll let Cameron give his introduction here on his own in a second, but just so you know, Cameron, so this is the first equipment partner podcast interview. So congratulations for trailblazing. You're trailblazing right now. So Cameron Bell, your official title is Design and Application Engineer at Delta ModTech. So welcome. And if you could, I guess, do you want to give yourself, the nice cookie cutter intro and welcome?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Steve. Yeah. So My name's Cameron Bell. I'm a design application engineer at Delta ModTech. We are a custom rotary converting machine builder, and we also build coating and drying equipment out of Ramsey, Minnesota, just outside of the Twin Cities. And I've been here almost 6 years now.
The coating and drying too. When did because that was an acquisition, and that came later. Can you just talk about when that acquisition happened and maybe why coating and drying came into the Delta kind of portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for a little background on Delta ModTech specifically, so we're now on the second generation of family owners. We're a privately held company, family owned. The original founder built the first servo motor driven rotary converting press in the early 90s, I believe, if not earlier. And then in 2016, a lot more recently, we acquired Frontier Coating out of Toronto, Pennsylvania. We had partnered with them on a project and everything went really well. They are experts in coating and drying, and we're experts in web handling. So as machines in the spaces kind of blend together, and there's a lot more complex operations going on before and after a coating and drying operation, that the marriage of those two companies has been fantastic for both of us and for growth. And now we're all under the Delta ModTech brand or umbrella, and there's no more Frontier Coating. That's more of a line of our equipment now. So I specialize more on the converting, and then we have some coating specific engineers also.
Well, it certainly makes sense, especially because, a lot of my questions for you are about the medical device industry, in particular, complex medical devices. So I guess Delta ModTech, of course, we've been partnered with you guys for a long time now, but what are the different technologies, I guess, that Delta ModTech brings? I mean, there's a lot on the website, but what would you say in terms of advancing the production of complex medical devices? What are some of the technologies that Delta ModTech has?
Yeah, so web handling, of course, materials that are in continuous web form have been our area of expertise. That's been in our wheelhouse for decades now, and those materials get thinner and more extensible and more challenging to deal with. And we've dealt with those for years and have a lot of experience with that. But I think where we're continuing to grow is in the discrete part integration or introduction onto a moving continuous web. So robots that fit on our modular platform for introducing discrete parts that might come in with some electronics contained in there, or end of line stacking of parts or pack out. And then another thing would be another process that's commonly done on a continuous web like that would be liquid dispense, or welding, bonding, sealing of materials. So again, reciprocating motion of these different techniques for bonding materials together or introducing something that doesn't come on a roll. So using our vendors who provide these solutions, and then we integrate them and tie it all together. So that's where we're continuing to grow and learn about how to provide more of a full solution for that market.
Right. And it's been quite the evolution. When I think of the modules on the machine, I mean, I feel like those modules have evolved. It's one thing to just do simple laminating and die cut of thin film, but when you lead with discrete parts, you normally don't think discrete parts. So that takes a lot of like accessorizing, right? But it spans the whole all these different medical complex all these different categories under med device. But what types of products are we talking in the grand scheme in terms of medical devices that can be produced off of the capabilities?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of devices that are going to have a skin adhesive and then some sort of flexible circuit or printed electronics on it, where we need to introduce, a battery or a housing that has the electronics and components into it. So perhaps those are fed in could be a wide variety of different ways that these are introduced or provided to us. And then we have to, so oftentimes we'll integrate, the typical 6-axis scour robots. And we use a lot of the scour robots because that pairs up well with our servo motors and controllers that we often use as well. But we've worked on, a smaller footprint, more reasonably affordable option for a small robot that can just fit in the position of 1 or 2 die stations on our typical machine. So we'll look at any sort of different discrete part depending on how it's can be denested or provided to us, whether it's a vibratory bowl or we have to inspect for the orientation of it with a backlight and then pick it from there. So I guess it covers a pretty wide variety there.
From the product designer standpoint, they're trying to launch a product. The manufacturing challenges are just, one of many issues that they have to get that product to market. And obviously you could be contacted by us with an application that we have in the hopper. You could be contacted direct. What are some of the challenges that you're hearing with people that they have a device, they know they want to commercialize it, but they're stuck on some of the manufacturability hurdles? What are some of those challenges that they're coming to you with?
Yeah, so I guess in the web form, really, really delicate, extensible materials, right? So we have to have ultra low tension web handling capabilities, which is certainly in our wheelhouse. But then oftentimes you're trying to form these materials around different heights on the product. So then you have potentially difficulties with wrinkling or tenting when you're trying to form different materials around perhaps discrete parts or solid plastic or whatever that material might be. And then minimizing scrap has always been a big thing, right? Material savings, because a lot of these materials are expensive, whether it's the discrete part or the input roll. So we have different modules that we have been using for a long time now for changing a pitch and spreading a gap while using the maximum amount of material we can by different speed ratios between stations or different materials to do that. So that's kind of the challenges in terms of the roll input goods. And then the discrete parts, they're more and more complex. They're smaller and smaller. So the way they stack and how you pick them with what end effector and how accurately we have to place them continues to get more and more challenging. But we try to keep up with you guys and the product designers to stay on the cutting edge, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And you guys have been more and more into the wearable space. I remember like years ago, I don't even know how many label expos ago this was, at least a decade, but, and you guys were showcasing more as like a digital print finishing, and it was just like, okay, well, there's the Delta with with some other competitive options to, apply a coating, some laminate option, die cut, semi-rotary, whatever, full rotary. But the evolution, now to really where
Right.
your focus on in medical wearables. I mean, how has that
hmm
evolution emerged? And then just how are you guys contributing now to the emergence of in particular the wearables space,
Well,
wearables applications? Oh, light, there we
sorry, my
go.
light turned
I,
off. All right,
that
got to
happens
move a little
that
bit.
happens
Sorry.
to me in my that happens to me in my office
Oh,
too,
okay.
where people are like, you do the wave,
I'm sitting too still. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's interesting to see how the markets we target and the landscape of Delta equipment and uh where we play most into has changed because like you said, we had label finishing equipment. And that was a big piece of our business for a while. And then we kind of phased out of that. But now we're kind of back in that space because there's so much RFID insertion in the label market, high speed turret rewinds for these Walmart initiatives and stuff like that for RFID. So it's really it's really being alongside product designers, companies like you guys and your customers who bring us these new opportunities, and we're just here to help them with their new challenges. So I mean, like in the coating market, it was specialty adhesives, medical, pharma. Um, but now within the last few years, there's been so much battery and fuel cell. And so our business tends to just change with what our customers are producing or this new business that we go out and find who can benefit by using our equipment. So um, yeah, I guess the medical device industry has been an area we've been in for a while, and medical in general has been our largest market for a long time now. So
And what trends, I guess, from a medical wearable standpoint, like what is there anything noticeable that's trending or something that's just that you're seeing an evolution occur in terms of either the way the inquiries are coming or the types of technologies that you guys are specifically looking at, or where you think maybe things are going in the future that you guys need to innovate toward to, I guess,
yeah,
support the proliferation of what a lot of people are forecasting is a lot of wearable applications.
yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I touched on it briefly, but it's always going in the direction of higher speeds, higher throughputs, and tighter tolerance, right? So that's been the case as we look back for a lot of different industries, even like label, right, which is maybe a little looser at times. But so we build more cabinets or put more lasers, more modules, wider machines for more lanes. So that's how we're adapting. We're getting into a lot of wider equipment. For the tighter tolerance stuff, we're using the latest and greatest Yaskawa servo motors. They're on Sigma 10 is coming out next. We have direct drive die cutting stations to limit the gear stack up, and closed loop vision systems and different ways for handling webs to have the most precise converting and cutting processes. Um, and then I think another big area that we want to grow into, and we can learn a lot from guys like you at Tapecon is printed electronics and flex circuits, because we know some of that is done in a roll to roll process, and we get more and more inquiries about that type of application, and we've done some of that, but that's an area where we still have a lot to learn. Um, and I think there's significant business out there that could do this stuff roll to roll. So
Yeah. Yeah. Just one quick one before I transition here, but are there any, and maybe answer this, but are there any applications that maybe currently aren't done in the form factor of what you guys offer in terms of an input web and some converting, that categories that maybe you think are going to come that maybe eventually that currently aren't able to be produced but are starting to migrate into this type of production process?
yeah, that's a good question.
Like when you mentioned earlier, like the injection of fluids, like that seems
Mhm.
different. When you mentioned vibratory bowls, I mean, you don't normally think of that in some of these traditional converting processes. So it got me thinking of just a lot of different types of applications?
Yeah, I mean, there's some med device application we've seen recently where they've been doing it in sheet form for 20 years. It's thick foam sheets, um, flatbed die cut, and then all applied and bonded together by hand in different manual operations. So there's things like that. Um, I
Just
guess
cost
one,
savings type new ways to produce it for cost savings, right?
right, and perhaps we can't do the whole entire process because there's um, some rigid plastic pieces that can't necessarily be introduced or bonded on the press. So, and they've been kind of stuck in their way of doing this all discrete part sheet form the whole way. But now we're going to automate, 75% of the manufacturing process. So I know that's pretty vague and not specific to
Yeah,
one
no,
application like you're asking, but I mean, another thing that comes to mind is less med device, but RFID encoding in line.
right.
Everyone's asking for it, but it's still being done offline, and these companies that have these the hardware and are developing the software to do it in line are being pushed a lot to keep developing that. But that's one area where it's been a challenge to just do it in line in terms of keeping up with speeds
Sure.
for
And
encoding. So
just transitioning here. So I mean, clearly you guys don't just sell equipment, drop it at the door, wave goodbye. When I think, and your website's done a good job too of showing some of the additional services, but particularly, this validation and compliance and medical device manufacturing. But I mean, when people, how are you guys helping solve people's problems in terms of the compliance implications of validating process or product? I mean, and I don't know how deep you guys go in the level of services that you offer, but what are some of the challenges that people are coming to you with that involves some validation and compliance, and how do you guys address those problems, those challenges?
yeah. So first of all, a validation package for a machine itself is something that can be included oftentimes for medical or pharma. So we have a validation team here, which will help write all the validation procedures, which we then perform and record to ensure our machines and the components of our machines are doing exactly what they intend to do. So we do a full validation procedure for a specific machine. And then we can certainly help with, at machine runoff, we have inspection equipment. We have optical comparators so we can measure parts and products when we're doing runoffs here to ensure we hit the proposed yields and tolerance. And we also have like seal burst testers and strength testers and all sorts of coating lab equipment for measuring uniformity and thickness and weight gauging stuff. So in terms of measuring the product, and then we can help the customer with the IQ, OQ, and PQ testing stuff as well. So and then even in cases of selling equipment into Europe, we can do CE certified machines or CSA to Canada. So yeah, we've built up our validation team here, whereas before it was more on the customer. So we're really emphasizing building and being strong in that department.
Yep. Well, it makes a lot of sense because it's all about speed to market, and these are things that if it's an afterthought, it's going to delay things, right? So
Yes.
I just think that's great, and all the way to just providing measurement data and the validation package. I mean, that's great stuff. Good. Shifting to future, I guess. So, there's a lot kind of in the future, and obviously we're working on some stuff together. But what do you see? Well, I guess we should probably talk about the fact that, well, what potential markets? So we're talking about medical. We've talked about the technologies. We should let the cat out of the bag on some of the upcoming trade shows. We should probably do that.
Yeah.
I'll let you I'll let you say your version of what I'll say. So next May, MDM East, the Medical Device and Manufacturing Show East, it's usually at the Javits Center in New York, should be there.
Yep,
We've
think
got a
so.
collaboration. We're going to be doing some stuff together between Tapecon and Delta. So can you talk about, I guess, because you're like the trade show guy. I was just telling you before we started hit the record button that I saw you in the trade journals, and you're famous on some of the Delta media in terms of your advertising and stuff. So you've been going to these trade shows and kind of running the machines at the trade shows and doing demonstrators. Can you talk about, I guess, maybe what that's been like, and then what should be expected at an MDM type environment and the collaboration that we have going on?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know about famous, but my mom thought it was cool when I said it to her. But, yeah. So yeah, in my role, I typically attend trade shows along with our sales team. So our team will work up demo processes that we'll have live and running on our machines at trade shows. We go to about 6 or 8 with machines in a given year, and then a bunch more where we have small tabletops. But yeah, I'll start with, I guess, upcoming this October in Minneapolis. We're doing a sort of demo microfluidics, laser cutting, die cutting, folding to align some channels and different cuts together, and then die cutting these parts onto a conveyor. So that's the process we have coming there, which I think you'll be at. So I'll be able to say hi to you, Steve, there.
Yep,
I'll
see you there.
Yep. And then MD&M East next spring, like you said, May, I believe it is. We're working with you guys. And this is kind of touching on the future stuff, like the printed electronics, flex circuit stuff, because you guys have so much knowledge and experience with these inks and how to handle them and the different processes that are involved with that. We're leaning on you guys for sort of the product design and what sort of part we can demonstrate running and show off that could be interactive with the attendees potentially, to get them really involved and engaged on what we're showing off. So your guys' product design and product expertise, and of course the process as well, and us figuring out how we can translate that onto our machine at the show will be a good partnership and a pretty exciting little demo we can show off in New York. So that's pretty exciting. We like working with guys like you to show off your capabilities as well as ours. So
no, I think no, it's a great preview, and it's likewise. I mean, I think we just consider you guys kind of like the engineers in the next room, you know what I mean? And an extension of our engineering and an extension of our service to the customer that's coming to us with that application challenge, because we don't know everything, right? But it's the combination of your team's expertise, our team, and it's how we pull it together to help our customers launch these products. So no, really appreciate the collaboration and relationship, long-term relationship between Tapecon and your organization, Delta. So looking forward to seeing you guys up in Minneapolis when I get up there in October. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I told you you'd blink and fly by. I mean, are there any final parting words, Cameron, or anything that you want to end with or close up, or anything you want to finish her up with?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with what you said at the end there about, I mean, we don't know it all either. So we totally want you guys to reach out with questions, but also your input on things, what you guys are seeing in the market coming up, right? Because we're not always in the loop on what's the latest and greatest technology or what these trends are in the market. So having partnership like this is beneficial for both, and your team is super intelligent and experienced as well. So we like learning from you guys as well. So
I appreciate that. I mean, this podcast is really, and with this podcast kind of aimed at, like, I'll say the developers, you know, the people that are developing products. I mean, I'm hoping that they're listening to this and thinking, hey, this is great. You know, this is two organizations that are collaborating, you know, for their benefit, you know, so that we can hit the easy button on all the steps involved in commercializing a product or making improvements to existing products through process redesign or other enhancements. So, okay, well, hey, Cameron, I will see you in person in October. Thanks for being on.
Great.
And much appreciated. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate the time.
Thanks.